You're with Clement Manyatela
on 702.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Clement Manyatela Show on this Tuesday, the 11th of February. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. It's great, actually, because we always love being in your company. I hope you do too, being in our company. 011-883-0702 is the number to dial on the 702 open line this hour. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. So, Duduzile Zuma, the daughter of former President Jacob Zuma, has insulted the Secretary General of the MK Party, Floyd Shivambu. She called her the F word on Twitter. She said Floyd is the worst thing to ever happen to the MK Party. She tweeted that, and I quote, "I am not scared of you, Floyd," end quote. And then the MK President's office, which is headed by Floyd's friend or close ally, Mahasela Mzobe, released a statement in the early hours of this morning saying President Zuma calls on his daughter to apologize to Floyd and the MK structures or face her membership being terminated. And even once she apologizes, she will have to face disciplinary proceedings. She actually tweeted late last night that, and I quote, "They will expel me tomorrow. It is well with my soul. Oksalayo, Floyd is useless," end quote. It was just a matter of time, wasn't it? These internal battles in the MK Party, caused by the unhappiness about a group of people who recently joined the party, only to be parachuted into positions of power. And that has caused unhappiness among other MK Party members who have been with the organization from the start and have been overlooked or demoted to accommodate the new ones. I mean, I've been hearing from people within the MK Party that Floyd Shivambu is having it hard on the ground. There are people that are not happy with his appointment. I hear there are people not even happy with Mzwanele Manyi as chief whip in parliament. And these are people who are senior, right? Who were not elected, right? These are senior people who are saying this. But the people who are now battling for positions have not even been elected by supporters of the MK Party on the ground, right? A party that doesn't even want to have an elective conference anytime soon. Of course, things like this are also going to happen. It was also a matter of time that Zuma's daughter starts acting up. I mean, she was flagged even before the elections last year by some in the party that she's entitled and she's problematic because she exercised a lot of power at the time because it was just her and her dad and others. Yeah, but it's her and her dad and others. But now there's a proper structure in the MK Party. And some of the power she used to have is gone. Most of it is now concentrated in Floyd Shivambu's office. And that probably is frustrating her. And if indeed President Jacob Zuma sanctioned this statement last night, where he's calling on her to apologize or else, then that's a good sign that he's a man of principles sometimes, no? Whether you are his child or not, you will be treated like any other member of the party. If indeed she sanctioned the statement that was released last night. I mean, surely you can give him credit for that, no? Let me know what your thoughts are. What's very clear here is, I mean, people are already, and as bad and as crude as this is, I mean, some people are even talking about what happens post President Zuma's passing. That's how crazy things are now. You hear it from some of the MK parties who are saying, we are now working the ground because once the old man is no longer there, it's up for grabs. Which faction is going to be strong enough to take leadership and ownership of this organization. That's where things are. Let me know your thoughts on 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well, 072-702-1702. Also, have you been seeing what US President Donald Trump has been saying about Gaza? He says he wants to own it. Must be nice to be a US president, eh? Just pick any piece of land, anywhere in the world. Which one do you like? Oh, that place in Gaza that was demolished by the Israeli Defense Force, how about we take that? Yes, it belongs to other people. That's other people's home, but we don't really care about that. We're going to own it and refurbish it. Where is the respect for territorial integrity? Does that not apply when it comes to the US? Isn't what Trump is doing now illegal under international law? Does it make sense to you? Let me know.
Clement Maniatella. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Hey, my name is Clement. I'm 7 of Windows. You know, my problem with Tutuzi Lesbo is that she thinks she knows something about politics. Let's be honest. She doesn't know nothing. Even if they can put her as a secretary of the MK party, what does she know about being a secretary general of a certain party? What does she know about politics? Because all she knows is to say, we see you guys. Tapa here from Boston.
Good morning, Clement. Speaking from Melville, the issue of MK party. I've come to notice that MK party is a party that has no future. You know, it's just centered around individuals. There are no principles, there are no guidelines on that party. I don't know why Floyd went there. From what the lady said to him, that's when he's going to look at it and then see if he can go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. But guys, what Duduzile is saying now is actually what is being felt by a number of people within the MK party already. In fact, listen to this conversation. This is Mary Padi. Mary Padi was the convener of the MK party in Mpumalanga. Well, she still believes she is because she won the case against the MK party when they tried to remove her from that position. Busisiwe Mkhwebane has since taken over from her, but she believes Busisiwe is actually violating a court order, so she will be returning to court soon. That's what she had told me when I interviewed her. So the context here is this is a woman who led and was the convener for the MK party in Mpumalanga. And Mpumalanga was the second best performing province for the MK party in the elections last year. So she actually worked really hard on the ground to get people to support the organization and vote for it. And I did ask her about how do people feel about Abo Floyd and all these people coming from the EFF who then get parachuted into these positions of power.
You said earlier today outside court that, you know, there are people coming from the EFF and they must not come here and take over what you guys have worked for. Is this the general sentiment of MK members on the ground about some of these members coming from the EFF?
That's what I'm hearing on the ground. But I was speaking for myself, you know, because at the end of the day, that if you're not being honest to the organization must not even trust you more. I'm honest to the organization to say that you cannot see a person joining Mkhonto we Sizwe 2 weeks before, and the next thing you give that person a role. How can we defeat EFF on the elections? And then from there you make the same person to be the face of the organization. You know, we could take anybody in the province and put that a person there. Okay. So I'm saying that I am not demanding to be the convener of the province, but currently I'm sitting with the order and I will be talking to the president. I will be on the letter of apology. I'll be saying to the president, please, president, let's find a solution to this thing because we cannot lose as a province in 2026.
All right, Mary.
Yeah, this was Mary Padi. So, but as I said, there are other MK party leaders who are not happy with Floyd Shivambu. And of course, there are others who are happy with his leadership, and they see the work that he's doing to really help structure this organization and give it shape. Listen to Jacob Zuma, the former president or the president of the MK party, also realizing that there's unhappiness on the ground. And that's why he was calling on members of the MK party to be disciplined.
I'd like to thank the comrades who are here and the ones who have been identified to lead this organization. And indeed, we want to bring changes. We want to have an MK that is disciplined, that respects people, that is standing for the interests of the people. That's what we want to do. We don't want to see any one of us doing something wrong. Part of the reason we have said we don't need conferences for now, as we are establishing our party. Because conferences have become fake. People use money, they buy people to vote for them and do everything. No, we are saying that is not going to happen to Mkondo Sizwe. No.
See, that's what Jacob Zuma was saying. It's 19 minutes after 9.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela.
on 702.
Hi, I think you're being a little bit harsh on Donald Trump. I don't think he actually wants to do that, besides the fact that the demolition is already done, which that's their joke, sorry. But I think what has happened since is that he's changed the way people think, because that is a problem that is almost a century old that no one can fix. So, yeah, I think it's time people start thinking differently about it. Not to say his idea, it's really not smart, but getting people to think different is pretty much what he does. So, yeah.
Oh my God. What? No. So I'm not against different ideas on how to resolve the war in the Middle East, but are you seriously saying that I'm being harsh on Donald Trump, who clearly wants to annex some land in a sovereign state? Okay, okay, maybe I didn't explain properly what Donald Trump said. Abel, do you have a clip of him talking about owning Gaza and taking over it as the US? That is wild. Imagine South Africa saying we're going to take over Maseru, or some parts of Zimbabwe, or some parts of Botswana. We're going to own it, take over it. How is that contributing towards the solution in the Middle East, huh?
Build beautiful communities for the 1.9 million people. We'll build beautiful communities, safe communities. Could be 5, 6, could be 2, but we'll build safe communities a little bit away from where they are, where all of this danger is. In the meantime, I would own this. Think of it as a real estate development for the future. It would be a beautiful piece of land.
Would the Palestinians have the right to return?
Spent. No, they wouldn't, because they're going to have much better housing, much better. In other words, I'm talking about building a permanent place for them, because if they have to return now, it'll be years before you could ever. It's not habitable. It will be years before it could happen. I'm talking about starting to build, and I think I could make a deal with Jordan. I think I could make a deal with Egypt. You know, we give them billions and billions of dollars a year.
Hey guys, this is a joke, I'm telling you. Huh? What a joke, my darling. So he basically says the people, first of all, the ceasefire deal that was agreed on was that the people of Gaza can return. They can go back home. Even though they're going back to a place that is absolutely remnants of destruction. Everything is demolished. Well, most things are demolished there. So that was part of the ceasefire. Now, Donald Trump is stepping back from the ceasefire. He says, no, we don't want them to return there, because what are they returning to? I can make a deal with Jordan and Egypt. So this is all about the resettlement of the people of Palestine in Gaza. Isn't this what we were warning of? From the word go already, when the Israeli Defense Force entered Gaza. at some point, it became very clear that the mission here may be very different from what we are told. And I remember I played you clips of the Jordan leader who was saying, I don't want to take refugees from Gaza, not because I don't care, but because I can see that this seems to be the mission by Israel. Egypt came. Turkey, there are countries that came and said, we are not going to agree to taking refugees because that's where we are being pushed to. And now Donald Trump is confirming it. He says, I can give them billions of dollars. Give Jordan billions of dollars. Give Egypt, give any of these neighboring countries, give Turkey. And then get the people of Gaza to be refugees in those countries, to be resettled there. That is wild. But what is even more wild for me is how is it that the United Nations, I mean, I've not seen any of their statement. I haven't seen a statement from the United Nations yet on what Trump is saying. Or are they scared that he's going to also pull out? The next 4 years are going to be interesting. I'm telling you. 24 after 9.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela
on 702.
Hello, good morning, Clement. The United States is saying that the South African government is expropriating the properties of white Afrikaner South Africans. However, what is very interesting and ironic to me is the United States wants to expropriate and take the land of the Palestinian people in Gaza, and they want to create condominiums and a Mar-a-Lago kind of setup in Gaza. They want to expropriate that land, and they don't want the Palestinian people there. So it's fine for them to expropriate Gaza without compensation, even if it's through ethnically cleansing Gaza, even through a genocide. But they are lying about what's happening about expropriation in South Africa. Don't you find that ironic?
Clement, hope you're well. You know, if you want to mess up the geopolitics, give power to the likes of Donald Trump. La time a little right, Clement, upstairs. Aye.
Kutiwa, I want to own it. Jason, you are calling us from Edenvale. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
My thoughts are that Donald Trump is actually a disgrace to humanity, because he's treating people as if they're animals, like herding a group of animals and moving them to another country purely for his own benefit. His own benefit is to make the Gaza Strip a mecca for gambling, or like Las Vegas of the East, which is an absolute disgrace. I mean, how can you repatriate 2 million people to another country? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It can't work. It's against every moral fiber of a human being is to look after each other. And by moving people, he wants to move them into a desert with nothing.
Yes.
But he's serious about it. It's not like he's joking about it.
That's the scariest thing, Jason, because you could argue that, man, he's just speaking off the cuff. No, what Trump says, his people execute.
But also he wants to buy Panama. He wants to buy Panama. He wants to buy Greenland.
He wants Canada to be part of the U.S.
And he wants Canada as a 51st state. I mean, I actually think his non-compensation rates is guaranteed. But the fact that he blatantly turns around and says it's like a comedy show. That's the way I view it. I just laugh at it because it's impossible. It's absolutely, totally impossible.
Yeah, it's a comedy show. And unfortunately, it doesn't just end with laughs. It ends with serious, real consequences for people on the ground. Tuso, you're in Joburg. Your thoughts?
Morning, Clement. How are you?
Hi, Gemnat. Wena?
Good. I want to talk about pirates or.
Hey, wena man, too so. Don't bring old news here.
The issue of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they are turning the whole world into a political laboratory, and the repercussions will be bigger than people think when they are gone. Because right now, I feel Donald Trump is creating enemies for Americans more than those who came before him. Right now, everyone is kind of hurtful with Americans. And my other worry is, why is American civic society so quiet when they are saying that their idiot is on the loose with the PIN code for the weapons of mass destruction? I think Americans must speak out because their silence is a worry to the entire world.
Well, they voted for him, Tiso.
Yes, but check the direction he's taking now. Are the Americans okay with that? Because at the end of it, I'm telling you, America is going to be alienated, and people are slowly getting there.
All right, Tiso and Joburg, thank you for your thoughts. Let's also hear from what some of you have had to say about this comedy also that's underway in the MK party.
Good morning, Clement. The chickens are coming home to roost. I wonder what Malema and the rest of the EFF gang thinks about what's happening, what's unfolding in the MK party. Zuma's daughter has, she was a red herring. She gave, we saw in the beginning, even during those unrest, her tweets, that was how we got introduced to her. We saw how problematic that was. And indeed, if that statement was sanctioned by Malala himself, I must give him credit because, that party, he has the sole control of what happens over that party. Good to see him lead by example. But I'm sure Floyd will be regretting why he left the EFF. Prince, in Bedford View.
But wasn't it Prince Mashele who warned us about the implosion of the MK party? I think they do need a policy conference, and maybe not elective conference, but a policy conference to educate their cadres how to conduct themselves in public, because that was embarrassing. Can you imagine? That's the problem if the center is not holding. The center in the MK seems like it's not holding. They really need a policy conference to iron out these issues. Thank you. It's Fiso.
Yeah, it's Fiso. Yeah, Gunzim. It's 9:30.
A registered FSP.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela.
On 702.
23 minutes before 10 o'clock, we continue with your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. Let me quickly take James in Midrand, and I'm going to bring in Dr. Navi Pillay, who has been with the United Nations, so we can get some clarity on this action that Donald Trump wants to take in Gaza, this decision to just own Gaza as if it's just some piece of land that is not sovereign, that is not home to people, as demolished as it is. James, you are in Midrand. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Clement and the listeners.
Sure, go ahead.
I didn't expect coming because my action is posed on someone like that. When Donald Trump says he's going to buy Gaza, he's going to buy it from who? The funds of the purchase. Who is going to be the recipient? Is it Israel? Is it the Palestinian Authority? Is it Hamas? Who is going to be the recipient of such funds when they buy the land? Thanks for bringing the expert. I think might assist us in also answering such questions.
Yeah, true.
Who's got the credit of Gaza as we speak?
Yeah, James, that's a good question. Thank you so much for calling. Dr. Navi Pillay is a former United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights. She has done a lot of work on the situation in the Middle East, and she joins us now on the line. Dr. Pillay, thank you so much for making time at such short notice to come speak to me. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, no, thanks for reaching out to me. I'm also the chair of the UN's investigating commission on Palestine and Israel. So we've been very much working on these issues.
Okay, even better. Help us understand, Dr. Pillay, what the international law says. Donald Trump says he wants to go and buy and own Gaza. He wants to pay billions of dollars to Jordan, to Egypt, some of these neighboring countries to take on the people of Gaza so that he can somehow refurbish it. He doesn't want them to go back there now, even though the ceasefire was very clear to say people can return back home. What does what he says say about territorial integrity?
Yeah, firstly, let's remark on how shocking it is that a leader of such a big country is so ignorant of international law and of the rule of law. So he can't just do what he feels like. He has to obey the rule of law. And there is no law in the world under which he can dislocate the Palestinians from Gaza. That's their land. They are the indigenous people. So let me explain international law. Firstly, places obligations on all states to protect civilians. So you don't destroy them, you protect them. That's your first obligation. And if he removes Gazans by whatever means, bullying Palestinians or bullying other states like Jordan and Egypt, threatening them with sanctions, if he goes that way, then he's committing international crimes. And in this case, the crime of ethnic cleansing, which was made a crime after World War II when the Jews were moved out by the Nazis. This whole regime of international law has been built by civil society and by governments over 70 years. So there is no way we will allow a strong man to come and violate those laws.
But we've allowed them many times, Dr. Pillay.
Yeah.
We've allowed the U.S. too many times to do as they want. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. I can go on and on and on. There's so many times when they didn't respect international law. There's so many times when they allowed their allies to continue illegally also not respecting international law, and they are still here.
You know, you're quite right. What you're telling us and listeners is what dangerous times we are living in, when people with power, money, and guns ignore the law and do their own thing. And you're quite right. That's the way they attacked Iraq. Without Security Council resolution, Iraq has never been compensated for that. So you're quite right. These are dangerous times, even though I'm spelling out the law. There is a big risk that he may violate them.
Yeah.
I just want to add two other factors. One is the law of occupation also applies. So it's not only Geneva Conventions. The law of occupation, they can never remove the population from that area. So that's one. And the other is wonderful advisory opinion delivered by the world's highest court, the International Court of Justice, protecting the rights of Palestinians and ordering all states to obey their decision not to depopulate Gaza and not to take away the land of the Palestinians. Very clear directions, and all, in my view, all governments will obey that because that's their court.
And so there's a listener who called here and said, when Donald Trump says, I want to buy and own, so the listener wants to know, who does he buy Gaza from?
Good question. They're not selling.
Exactly, and Gaza belongs to the people of Gaza.
That's right. The land belongs to them. This is just spreading a myth, you know. These people have been living there for centuries. Yeah. Sorry about that. Somebody else's phone is...
No worries, Dr. Navi Pillay. Thank you. I just wanted you to come through quickly to just explain to us what the law says. You know very well about international law. By the way, Dr. Pillay has been at the, at the ICJ. This is someone who really understands fully international law. So there you have it. That would be illegal under international law. That doesn't respect territorial integrity, which is what any signatory of the United Nations is expected to respect. But then again, as I put it to Dr. Pillay, we've been here before. How many of the United Nations resolutions or rules or international law has Israel violated? What action has been taken against them? How many times has the United States acted as a law unto itself and never bothered about international law? What's happened to the US? And what does the United Nations even say now to the US President Donald Trump? And what does he say in return? Who knows what this man is going to wake up tomorrow and do or say? Let's go back to your WhatsApps.
Good morning, Clement. William here from Brits now. You know, Clement, Trump reminds me of that good old saying that goes, if a clown enters the palace, he doesn't become king. The palace becomes a circus. Good show as always. Goodbye.
Clement, you know what Donald Trump is saying? Like on the highest level. He is the international criminal. He's being a criminal at this point in time. How can you do that to a people? Like move people from their land. It's the same. That is why he encourages or he's against this expropriation of land, because he's happy with just taking people's land. Just like that. Especially if you are brown.
Good morning, Clement and 702 listeners. Yeah, you see a guy who makes a turnaround, a comeback like Donald Trump as an agenda, Clement. Same as for Jacob Zuma. Be careful of such leaders. They've unfinished business. Luvuyo, Grasmere.
Morning, Clem, Tato. I'd actually wanted to talk about pirates, but because I've got nothing but love for you, we shall let it be. Clem, I don't know what's wilder. Donald Trump's election promises, or that half of his people actually fell for them and are happy with them and with how things are going currently, or that even on this continent, you have people who fillet him daily and talk about what a great leader he is. To a certain extent, I agree with him on the woke gang. But saying wokeness is a problem does not mean all of a sudden we must not have humanity.
Yeah, listen. Yeah. True. So, you know, Donald Trump is like the president you want, in that when he makes promises, he's going to be decisive and will implement whatever promise he made, whether people like it or not. Right? And I think all of us need a politician who's always going to follow through on their word and on their promise and on their commitment. And I think he's a president like that. When he says, I'm going to do this, he's going to try his very best to do it. Whether people are crying foul or not. The difficulty here is that some of the policies that he promises to change or to establish are detrimental. And sometimes to the very people that are voting for him. And also to people that are supposed to be in cooperation with the United States. Because the United States is not an island. In the long term, you can never, ever be able to grow an economy and be a functioning country when you continue with policies like that are so protectionist, where you alienate yourself and isolate yourself from the rest of the world. We coexist as the world. That is not sustainable in the long term. The MK party said, the MK party said Donald Trump is a beacon of hope. Actually, Abel, why don't you play a clip of Kimang Datol, Mzwanele Manyi? When we were in Parliament, I asked Mzwanele Manyi that question. Remember, I said, how could you describe Donald Trump as a beacon of hope? And he was trying to touch here and there, but that just shows you of how sometimes our politicians, they're not even guided by principles. Now they went to open a case. Who were they opening a case against? AfriForum. AfriForum that is in bed with the US President Donald Trump. The very same man that they're saying is a beacon of hope for the world or the continent, whatever they said. It's going up to 11 minutes before 10.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyatela.
On 702.
8 minutes before 10 o'clock. Okay, Abel has found that clip of Mzwanele Manyi when I was asking him about Donald Trump and how, as the MK party, they seem to look up to him. But, Mr. Manyi, you said as the MK party, Trump is a beacon of hope and sovereignty. This is a man who's now tweeted that I'm cutting aid because you are basically implementing policies that are trying to redress the injustices of the past. That's not a man who respects sovereignty.
Like I said before, we have no problem with Trump saying whatever he's saying. The man just speaks his mind all the time. We don't have a problem. The issue here is that the success of South Africa should not be linked to what Trump says or Trump does not say. We have our own resources here that we should be ensuring that we use to leverage the position of South Africa. We are the largest platinum producer in the world, but we're not able to even leverage that and set a platinum price. So I've got people here that don't know what to do.
You do know Trump is trying to force our hand, probably on the ICJ as well, right? Is that a man who's a beacon of hope?
We said, in fact, as you can see, that the ICJ on its own does not engender independence for our own judiciary. 2017, this government taken a decision when President Zuma was still in charge to exit that ICJ so that we can have our own independent judiciary here. But the Ramaphosa administration reversed all of that. So we're sitting here as a country with a judiciary that is being second-guessed elsewhere, and we know that the ICJ generally has been anti-African anything. So we don't have confidence in that structure. So whatever happens there, we have been saying that South Africa must even withdraw from that whole exercise.
Notice how he's obfuscating. What's that English word? Yeah. Notice how he's not answering my question because they themselves are embarrassed of what they said about Donald Trump. And every time I interview them, I'm going to remind them of that statement that they sent out and to explain to us what is it about Donald Trump that makes him a beacon of hope. And yet they go and take open cases against people who have instigated what Donald Trump has said about us. It's just so weird. Now, in four ways, hi.
Good morning, Clement.
Joshua, go ahead.
I believe that the October 7th happened purposefully. The Israelis made it happen purposefully because the Mossad, the intelligence,
Mossad,
very, very
Israel's intelligence, right? It's one of the best in the world.
One of the best in the world. It can hit in the heart of Iran without any problems. So I feel that they let that happen purposefully, that they can do what they did in Gaza to a point whereby they can, take the land of the Palestinians, because they know if they do that, what they've done now, whereby they demolish all the houses, each and every structure, they can offer them, say, please move over to another country, third country, that we can rebuild. After rebuilding, they must never get the land back, And I know, I had some of my Jewish neighbors, they will talk about them not getting the land back. People are already talking about the Riviera and all these things. And even what Trump is saying now, that's been said privately. I'm glad that you've got a president that will actually, the things that are being said privately, he sometimes sort of
he forgets.
He forgets and then say this publicly.
Yeah.
So this is long planned, long time ago. There's nowhere else. What is happening here? There's nowhere else.
Yeah, thank you so much for your call. I do remember some people said that in the beginning about Mossad. Mossad is, the Israeli intelligence is one of the best in the world. And there have people who said, how is it that Mossad didn't pick up any intelligence of the Hamas attack on October 7, which was so tragic on the Israelis? There are people who thought, maybe that was allowed. I don't know about that. Maybe that was allowed, but Israel has come out to say we didn't know. So what Neo is saying has been a suggestion made before. I have asked this last year already in November, if not much earlier, or even July. I said, what is the post-war plan for Gaza? What is it? Because there's always a plan. Any country that goes and invades another country and sends its military there, even if it was Hamas or any other country that went into Israel, there was going to be a post-war plan. And the picture is becoming clearer now, isn't it? It's becoming much, much clearer. All of you that we removed from the north of Gaza, go into Jordan, go into Turkey, go into Egypt. We are going to make this place something we are going to own. What happens of the land of the people of Gaza? They go become refugees in another country? Must be nice to be a superpower, eh? It's 2 minutes before 10.